Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody had a Merry Christmas on this day after Christmas. I just recently heard, it might have been in a movie, I'm not sure, that in the UK, instead of Merry Christmas, like we say over here in the US, they say Happy Christmas. So first I'd heard of that. If that's true, put it in the comments and tell me. I really hadn't put any thought into it. Over here we say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. So let me know what y'all say. Hadn't put any thought into it. It's funny because when I was young, I never wanted to travel anywhere. Really had no interest in any other countries or any other cultures or anything. And now that I'm older, I want to go everywhere, and I'm interested in everything. It's really interesting how that's changed. Maybe it's because I'm getting older, and I feel like if I'm going to visit, I need to get on the ball. I posted a picture on Patreon this morning, a current picture of Denali. I know, or a recent picture. I know a lot of people ask about him, and so I posted that on Patreon this morning. If you want to take a look at it, really pretty picture, him in the snow. Looked like he'd been running and playing in the snow. So he looks like he's doing good. It looks really good in the picture. So if you might want to take a look at that. What I wanted to talk about today was we're going into the new year, day after Christmas. This is a time of the year when I start thinking about New Year's resolutions, things I want to change going into the new year. And I've never been one to do like a resolution, like I'm going to do more of this, or I'm going to lose weight, or I'm going to give up chocolate, or whatever it might be. I've always wanted to sit down and think about where I wanted to be at the end of the year and then write down steps to how to get there. And that's what I'd like to talk about today. Instead of um, just saying, I want to ride my horse more, or I want to go show for the first time, or I want to go on that first 50-mile trail ride. Instead of doing that, write down what that goal is, and then write down the steps that it's going to take to get to that goal. That's what works for me. That's what I do business wise. Not very good about making New Year's resolutions on a personal level, but that's how I think about business going forward. And I think if you think about those things that way, you I think there's a better chance of actually attaining them. So let's say next year you want to show your horse for the first time, and that would be your goal for the year. And write down the steps that it's going to take to get there. Ride at least 4 days a week. Take lessons 2 or 3 days a week, and maybe you need to go watch a show. Put all that down in the steps to get to your ultimate goal. And I think that works a lot better. Let's say, put in the comments what your goal for next year would be. And let's talk about the steps that it takes to get there. If you want to do that first 50-mile endurance trail ride, you have to look at your horse and yourself, and what do you need to get fit to do that? What does your horse need to do to get fit to do that? And then that would be your end goal for the end of the year. And that's how I like to look at it. I know for me, I want to make a few changes as far as we're going to hit a few bigger shows. I've never been one to do, well, that's not quite true. I've done the big world shows, but I've never been one to do like aged event shows, because I feel like that's kind of like putting all your eggs in one basket. But I think we might look at doing 1 or 2 of those next year. And I've got 2 horses in here that are really good candidates for aged event shows. So I'll look at each one of those horses and come up with a plan, and we'll talk about maybe doing that. But that's how I look at that. I want to look at the goal for the end of the year and then the steps that it takes to get there. I generally do somewhat of that with every horse that comes in. Every horse that comes in, the owner talks to me about what their goals are for that horse, and then from there I work on what it's going to take to attain those goals. And whether I'm looking at that on a horse by horse basis for each individual horse that's here, or the big picture of my training business in general, or you with your horse, it's the same thing. It's looking at what's the goal that you want to accomplish, and then what's the steps to get to that goal. I know that if I don't write down the steps that it's going to take to get there and work on those, I never attain the goal. And a lot of people make a New Year's resolution and say, I want to do this, but they really don't ever do anything to accomplish that one thing. They don't take the little steps to accomplish that thing. I've talked about that in training. Everything in training is little steps. It's not big steps to get from point A to point B. It's not like first grade, second grade, third grade. It's lesson plans. Every day has an individual lesson plan. How are we going to work on this skill? Next day, how we're going to work on this skill. It's those individuals that get you to the long-term goal. Let's say from a school teacher, if you don't work on those daily lesson plans, then at the end of the year, the students aren't going to have attained the knowledge that they need to. It's going to be all sporadic and work some on this and some on this, but there's no continuity through the whole year. It's the same way for your horse. There needs to be continuity throughout the year. What's the goal? What's the individual lesson plans? If you have any questions about that, put it in the comments. Let's talk about it. And my whole training program is based off of that. Everything is little lesson plans. And when I do a video that's talking about working a specific skill, that is just that lesson plan, that skill for that day. And it's not a matter of this is how you teach a spin, let's say. It's a matter of let's work on how to put this foot right there. That skill. When you accomplish that skill, then you accomplish this skill, one skill at a time. If you break it down that simple, then everything's easy to attain, easier. You can attain anything you want to that way. But if you don't break it down that way, then you're not going to attain it. So if you're just joining me, I was talking about here in the U.S., we say Merry Christmas. And I think I heard it in the movie that over in the UK, they say Happy Christmas. If that's true, put it in the comments. Tell me. I'd never heard that before. I actually never thought about it. This is Shorty that I'm riding. Shorty is here to further his training, get him a little bit more fit. His owner was having a few issues with him, and really she was doing cowboy mounted shooting off of him, and the actually shooting part he was fine with, but he was just kind of developing not wanting to work, not wanting to put effort into what she was asking him to do. So I'm advancing his training. He still has a lot of potential that he could attain. So I'm advancing his training, helping his work ethic, and in turn, we're going to accomplish that goal of being a better cowboy mounted shooting horse. As I'm walking him around, using a little bit of left spur there, a little bit of left spur, a little bit of left neck rein, bring him out. It's kind of falling in that way. Let's turn and go to the right. I was just a little basic rollback. It's something that he has learned in the past, but he got kind of sloppy with it, so I've been working some on it. We're in, I think the low today was 55, and our high is going to be about 68, something like that. We have a 50 to 80% chance of rain over about the next 4 or 5 days, with temperatures in that range. Kind of not terribly cold, but damp. It makes it feel cold. So we'll be riding here in the covered arena until we dry out again. That seems to be the story of my life here, waiting to dry out. We do still ride in the back pasture. Just kind of wet to ride out front. If you would, put in the comments where you're watching from. I made a post on Patreon about the clinic that I have coming up in Germany, and I was really surprised at the number of comments that commented on that post about how far away that was. 2 hours, 3 hours, 5 hours. Didn't realize that many people watch me from over there. It's really, really interesting to see.
We have Sebastian who says, sort of true that we say Happy Christmas, but in reality we say both. Maybe too much American influence each way.
Sebastian says it's true. They say Happy Christmas and Merry Christmas. Maybe too much American influence. So I'm a big believer in, of course, United States here. Everybody is from somewhere else, and I'm a big believer in trying to maintain the culture of where you came from. And the area that I'm in had a lot of French settlers. We go back to French and Scottish. There's a big French club here, and really active as far as maintaining their heritage. It's a shame when an older heritage gets lost, and so I hope y'all keep saying Happy Christmas. We'll say Merry Christmas. Maintain y'all's traditions over here. I mean, in the whole big picture of everything, we're a new country developing our own traditions, and it's kind of funny over here. What traveling that I've done around the United States, you can really see what where the people came from when they settled over here. Like I said, this area at one time period it was French that came in, another time period was Spanish, more recently Yugoslavian, and different parts of the country that I travel to. Like we don't have that many people that came from Germany here, from that part of Europe. Other places that I've settled have a lot of people that came from that part of Europe, and it's really interesting to see uh, just how they are different than us. I assume you have that in different countries in Europe, but it's it's different. Like people that listen to us with our southern accent, and then you go to a different part of U.S. and have a different accent, but it goes deeper than that as far as customs and foods and how we cook, and just really interesting. So it's kind of a, like to say, a melting pot of a bunch of different cultures, but I like to see when every area retains some of their heritage. That's interesting to me.
Connecticut, we're 28, Wyoming, it's 29, and New Hampshire, 22.
Oh, Connecticut, Wyoming, and New Hampshire, all in the 20s. I'm glad I am not there. I have been to all three of those states at one time or another. All very pretty states. I think all pretty for different reasons. And I think uh, Wyoming was really pretty, seeing the mountains and just different parts of the country or have their thing. I know I really enjoy Missouri. It's not. I don't know that it's really known for its country, but to me, it has really pretty country. All up until I walked into a convenience store and they had a sign on the door that said they were taking bids for snow removal for the winter. Then I figured that was going to be too cold for me for the winter. Uh, if it were up to me, I'd probably live uh, in the Bahamas or something. I like warm weather.
You have someone in the comment. Good morning from Foggy, Iowa. This morning, I am helping my barn owner with some renovation and updates. I so appreciate your comments about lesson planning, taking small steps and setting goals.
Great. They're in Iowa doing some repairs to the barn. This is a really good time of the year for that in our part of the country too. And they appreciate my comments about small lesson plans. That's really huge. And kind of on the topic of lesson barns, I've been around quite a few over the years, and kind of a general thing is a lot of them have lesson horses that all have issues, and whether it's from the students hanging in the mouth, they get their hard on the mouth, hard on the sides. I was just talking to Sebastian the other day about a horse that he had that's hard in the mouth, and lesson horses don't have to be that way. Uh, I know if you have a horse that you're giving a lot of lessons to throughout the day, that's going to take a toll on the horse. But you can maintain those horses where they last a lot longer, stay more responsive, and we have a couple of lesson horses here. Most of the lessons that I've done is upper level show lessons, and some lower level, some kids, but all levels of showing. And we have to keep those horses tuned up. Otherwise, they're going to keep coming down to that rider's level. A horse is always going to come down to the rider's level. But the the instructor, if they kind of help train themselves to look at that horse, you always want to keep that horse up above the student's level so the horse can keep pulling that student up. And it's a challenge. Uh, you have to be a good riding instructor, but you also have to be part horse trainer too. So if you're in a lesson barn and you're having issues with your horses, um, just being dull-sided, dull-mouthed, whatever issues, nippy, think about ways that you can change that because it's not that way everywhere. So just a thought from the lesson standpoint.
Sebastian would like, can you talk a bit about how people see smaller issues in isolation, like a horse that fights, and focus in on the small issue rather than looking at how to fix the overall problem, which is leadership?
Yeah, exactly, Sebastian. So, like, if you have a horse that's biting, and you fix the biting, but the biting is the symptom. The actual problem is lack of leadership. And a lot of times you'll get focused in on the biting and get the horse to quit biting, but because you didn't fix the actual problem, which was the lack of leadership, the horse is just going to exhibit its behavior in a different way. Usually, whatever the horse is doing, biting, kicking, rearing, pawing, whatever, that's just a symptom of the problem. You see the symptom, and then from the symptom, you have to diagnose the problem. The problem is usually a lack of training, a lack of leadership, or pain. Pretty much everything comes back to those three things. And you always want to rule out pain, but you also have to look at what's going on. If it is pretty obvious that that horse, when you look at the horse and the handler interacting, that handler is lacking leadership, and it's obvious, that is most likely the problem. And I've seen so many people, especially non-pro owners, lower level owners, that are having an issue like that, and they spend no telling how much money ruling out pain, where when you back up and look at the big picture, it's obvious that it's lack of leadership. And you, most of the time with the horses that I get in, the older horses, it's a lack of leadership. And like with him, he's a good horse, and he wasn't doing anything terribly bad, but the owner just wasn't asking him to do a lot of anything. So he just kind of got a little lazier, a little lazier, a little lazier. A different horse that was handled basically the same way could have gotten a little pushier, a little pushier, a little pushier. It all comes back to leadership. And he would say, "Oh, I'm tired. I don't want to do anymore." And his owner would give in and not make him work. And that's really what it comes down to. And younger horses, quite often it's a lack of training, but probably more often it's both lack of training and lack of leadership. So you look at it from the pain aspect with every horse, but you have to look back at the big picture. And I see so many people spend so much money trying to find a pain issue, because a pain issue is something that we give medicine, we give physical therapy, they see the vet, whatever the situation might be, and it's fixed. Where if it's a lack of leadership or a lack of training, that involves a whole lot more effort on our part. And I think that's why many owners, because I see it a lot, they don't really want to change what they're doing. They don't want to. They don't want to quit giving treats. They don't want to quit going out and playing with their horse, because that's what they want. But even though that thing that they're doing is what's causing the problem in their head, they want to say, "Well, surely that's not the problem. He has to be hurting somewhere." Got to back up and look at the big picture. Whatever you're seeing is the symptom. The problem is going to be one of those three things: lack of training, lack of leadership, or pain. So, any more questions? Okay. Let's walk Shorty around a little bit. He's a little bit dirty. One thing about a light colored horse, they're going to show every speck of dirt. He was in a stall last night. Of course, the ones that were out are more dirty because of all the rain. Put in the comments what your goals are for next year. What is the big thing that you want to accomplish? And let's talk about some of the little steps to get there. Everything that we're going to do, that we want to do, is a goal, but we have to work towards that goal. That's with everything, not just horses and life in general.
Angela's goal is restart scheduled for February, spring training, especially upper body.
Okay. Angela's goals are restart schedule for February and strength training. So those goals, that's you're going to know better than me what the strength training and the areas you need to work on, and you make a schedule. Work on this day, that the next day. Lesson plans, just like we do with the training with the horse. And that's how you accomplish the goal. And at the end of the year, you feel really good about accomplishing the goal. And that's how I think that's how a lot of people feel good about themselves. And I think how a lot of people that don't feel as good about themselves, maybe they just need to be a little more structured. I know I am very structured, and some people call it a weird, but I am structured to the point where All my shirts point the same direction in my closet. All the pants are grouped together. All my short sleeve shirts are grouped together. All the long sleeve shirts are grouped together, and all the shirts face the same way. So I am I'm kind of weird about certain things, and some things is just being weird. But like hanging the bridles up, all my bridles get hung up the exact same way, and but for that, there's a reason behind it. If you take these leather bridles and you wrap, say, both reins clockwise, they're going to shape in that clockwise shape, and they're not going to hang correctly on the horse, and you'll actually end up with a soft horse that goes crooked. So all of my bridles, when I hang the rein on the left side goes counterclockwise, the rein on the right side goes clockwise, and the end of the rein hangs down to where it's even with the loop on the bottom. Every bridle is hung that way.
Roger said, got to adjust my goals, horse broke my foot.
Oh, Roger. Yeah, I feel bad for Roger. So the other day I called him, and I had to bring his horse in to get some stitches. And I called him on the phone and told him, and he said it must be just a bad day because I'm on the way to the emergency room with my foot. So it was a really bad day for Roger last week. But yeah, gonna have to adjust your goals a little bit, but you get there.
We have Wild White Wine Services that on the subject of goals, mine is to keep learning life and horsemanship. How important it is to use all resources, including watching and talking as many trainers as it is watching and talking.
Yeah, that's great. Their goal is to continue with their learning, and that's great. You might want to go ride with a trainer or two over the year. Go do a clinic or two. There's all kinds of stuff that ways that you can uh, increase your learning. I mean, that's a daily process. I know I don't get to go ride off with other trainers as near as often as I'd like to, or I used to be able to. It's a lot harder to leave now. And while you can get away and do that, do it. You get a lot out of it.
He added different opinions on life. The watching and talking of different opinions in life.
Yeah, different opinions in life, different opinions on horse training. There's no one way to fix anything. There's always different ways and different opinions, like you said, different opinions in life. And as I've gotten older, my opinions on life have changed. And I think that's part of maturing and growing up.
Deb said, my plan for the coming year is to work with my young Mustang. I want to improve my leadership with him since he likes to nip. My goal by summer is to back him.
Yeah, that's great, Deb. In fact, me and her and I had talked about that Mustang, and she sounds like she picked out a good one, and maybe be riding him by the summer. That'll be nice, and it's a good goal. It's a good goal. I know different people have different opinions about Mustangs. Well, just like any other breed of horse, but in the different Mustangs have kind of become an in thing lately here in the U.S. A lot more people are getting them and working with them, and yet Mustangs can make really good horses. They're really hardy, and they tend to be on the not athletic enough side to do most of what I do, but some of them that are more athletic, they're really good. If you remember Trigger, I had here, he was a BLM Mustang, and he was a good horse. They can make good horses. The only issue that I have noticed with Mustangs is they've been out in the wild for a few hundred years and not really being selectively bred for a show career for an event. They breed for survival. So sometimes it takes going through a couple of them to really get one that's good at what you want it to be good at. So that's probably the biggest negative to them, but they can make really good horses.
Sebastian said, when I started working with horses, the lady who taught me drilled so hard on not to hand feed treats and the issues it causes. I see so many people do it and won't accept that it's a problem.
Yeah, absolutely, Sebastian. He said that when he first started with horses, that his mentor really drilled on him not hand feeding treats. And I know a lot of people out there still do and aren't going to change their ways, but it creates many problems. And a lot of the horses that I have here, that's how the problem started. And that's what a lot of people that hand feed treats don't really realize. The horse might not start nipping when you give it the treat, but you're undoing your leadership. You're undoing the fact that you're higher in the pecking order than the horse. And if you watch horses in the pasture, they all have their pecking order. That's part of how horses are. And when you start hand feeding treats, basically you're giving that horse your food. That's how the horse sees it. Which to the horse, that means that you're more important, or the horse is more important than you are. So it just starts a downhill spiral. And I see all the time. I've hand fed my horse for 20 years, and it's never been a problem. And yeah, maybe it hasn't, but I'm sure there's probably a problem there. But we're not going to get into that. So there's all kind of issues, and as trainers, our job is to make the horses better, and we know what it takes to make that horse better. And if the owner don't want to do it, or wants to do things different, that's fine. The many owners want to accomplish their goal, but they want to accomplish their goal their way, and that's how they want to do it. You can do it that way. You can try, but that's kind of going off on a tangent. So get back on goals. If you want to accomplish a goal with your horse, write down the little steps that it takes to get to that goal. That's the important part, and actually write them down. I have I do Android. I don't do iPhone. A whole nother video on that. But I've got a Google Keep on my phone where it's just notes, and I write notes all through the day of all kind of stuff in Google Keep. Some of it is on each individual horse. Some of it's for me. Some of it's for schedule. All kind of things. And then at the end of the day, I kind of sit down and get those thoughts organized. And that's how my brain functions during the day. During the day, I'm riding horses and my brain's all over the place about the horse and all kind of other things. And that's how I get my thoughts organized. If I don't write them down, it goes in one ear and out the other, and it's lost forever after that. So let's trot Shorty around a little bit. Asking to bridle up. This bit that I have on him today, I think this is the first time he's at this bit. It's got about an 1.5-inch port with a roller in it. I never ride a horse in the same bit more than 3 rides in a row. I'll swap bits around. Using a lot of lag. Notice I'll just kind of set my hands quiet. A little bit of a short rein. And then I'm using lag to steer him around. Every time he pulls on my right hand, I'll push with my right spur. Pulls on my left hand, push with my left spur. A little bit of right spur there. The shoulder fell in. Notice his ears are back on me. Listening to me. Listening to what I'm asking to do. So if I was to not use so much leg, as soon as I quit using leg, you see he stumbled. Give him rein and let's just kind of steer him around. He's already gotten more bumpy. He's already inverted his back. I had to put leg on right there. Keep him going. His ears are going forward more right there. When I talked, they came back. We're moving like we're drunk. Now let's bridle him back up. You go back to riding with leg. And there's the difference. He got way, way smoother. Now to what? He got way, way smoother because he was using his body better. And that's the kind of self-discipline, self-carriage that he needs to continue to develop. But he's getting stronger so that he can do that.
We have a good comment to elaborate on from Sebastian. My biggest goal is to overcome PTSD from previous injuries, which makes me fear falling off. I get stiff in the saddle at times as a result and holds me and the horse back.
Okay, so Sebastian said his biggest goal is to recover from his PTSD from an injury on a horse, and that he needs to recover from that. And that's just about everybody that rides horses is going to fall off at some point. And the issue really isn't if, it's when and how bad. And I had a youth here a while back, and terrified of falling off. And most of the time, the actual fear of falling off is worse than actual falling off. And our fear just kind of gets in our mind and it eats at us. And we start thinking worst possible scenarios, and then it just gets worse and worse and worse. And I had this youth here that's what had happened to them, and they got in the saddle and just was locked down, frozen because they were afraid to fall off. So it actually, a couple minutes into the lesson, when I realized what was going on, we swapped horses. I went and got Lucy, got him on, or her, I think it was a him, and got him on Lucy bareback, and I was leading Lucy around, getting loosened up a little bit. I think this was a 13, 14-year-old, and I was a girl. Now I remember who it was, and led her around a little bit, and she was just locked down. So I said, all right, we're going to do a different exercise. So basically, I stopped Lucy, and I walked over on this side, and I pushed her off. And when she started to go off, she grabbed me and landed on her feet. And I said, see, the fear of falling off was way worse than actually falling off. So we got her back on, and I said, now bail off a few times. And I know, like in Pony Club, they practice emergency dismounts. And that does a lot towards helping you get over the fear of falling off. You just start rolling off. You don't fear it as bad. And it's kind of similar like when we're training younger horses. And when I was starting a lot of horses, I come off enough that I got good at how to come off. And that's what a lot of it is you have to get good at how to come off. I know usually if I'm on a horse that's bucking and I know I'm not going to be able to stay on, I try to roll off to the left because that's where I'm good at falling off. If I fall off to the right or to the back, I don't fall off as good. So a lot of times it's just repetition. Get on the saddle and just roll over. And it sounds goofy, but that goes a long ways towards helping your fear of falling off.
Piggy Long says, I think one of my goals is to stop hand feeding my horse treats. He's not treat oriented or nippy, but what you said about leadership and treats stuff.
Yeah, that's true, Peggy. She said her main goal is going to be to stop feeding treats. And what I'd said about the connection between leadership and treats kind of clicked with her. And It's true. And like she says, her horse is not nippy and it's not really a problem as far as that, but it will cause leadership issues. And I'm glad to hear that you're going to do that.
Angela has a question. I recently purchased spurs to help my horse side pass. She is really tall and I'm not. My leg doesn't go very low on her torso. Could the placement of the spur be too high for her to get the cue?
Okay, so she just bought spurs and she is a fairly small person with a big horse. And could the placement of the spur be too incorrect for the horse to understand the cue? And the horse, whenever you cue, where we decide to cue a horse, that's what we pick because that's kind of the standard. Right here to move the shoulders, back here to move the hip, and right where they hang for roundness. That's what we pick because that's the standard for our industry. But you can pick anything, and as long as you release that pressure when the horse does the desired movement, the horse is going to learn what that pressure is and where to move to get that release. So if the horse was previously ridden by a much longer legged person and the cue has moved far, then it will take the horse a little bit of time to make the connection. But as long as you release when the horse does the movement, the horse will make the connection. So, no, really, that's not going to be, you having short legs is not really going to be an issue.
With Roger, what I see, owners hire a trainer, but after he leaves, they go right back to their old habits and then blame the trainer for their failure.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Owner send a horse to the trainer, and the horse goes home, and the owner goes right back in their old habits. I see that all the time, and it happens with the horses that come in here. I had one horse in here in particular that I was trying to get the youth rider to come ride with me regular because when I got the horse, I could see right away the horse really wasn't the problem. It was the rider that needed to make the change. And horse was nice. Y'all saw the videos of the horse. It was nice. And went home, and the mom messaged me and said the horse is still doing the same thing. But the horse is doing what the rider is asking for, but the rider don't realize that's what they're asking for. So yeah, when you send your horse off to training, you need to correct whatever either created the issue or you need to ride up to the level of your horse. You're going to have to make a change. You to get your money's worth, you should make that change. You want your horse to be better, you have to be better with your horse.
Someone asked, Pale Face Done It or Pale Face Gunslinger, owned by Tim Anderson, was announced. Is this you? Just curious.
No, that's not me. There's another Tim Anderson that owns a bunch of NRHA horses.
At NRHA Champion.
Yeah, that's another Tim Anderson. We actually, NRHA mixes us up a lot because our names are, we have the same name, and also our membership number is very similar. And my earnings on my NRHA report is not correct because some of my earnings is on his report. And I received a check in the mail for like $10,000 one time a few years ago that was actually money that his horse had won, and I ended up sending that back in. So yeah, it's another Tim Anderson. We've actually never met. He mainly is an owner that sends his horses to training, and so the NRHA mixes us up a lot. They've actually added middle initials to both of our memberships. For a while, he had a middle initial and I didn't because I think my membership's a little older than his. So yeah, it's been kind of funny.
Worldwide said another Tim Anderson. Oh, Lordy.
Yeah, it's funny because the principal of the high school in the northern part of the county, his name was Tim Anderson. I think he's retired now. He's still around. And there's a Tim Anderson from Biloxi that I knew. And anytime I go into any store, where was that the other day? Don't remember where I was at. And we've always got to go through the Tim Andersons. And that's, it's gotten kind of funny, especially at the dry cleaners in Goche, because I I never know whose clothes I'm going to go pick up or who gets my clothes. I think most of us have had it happen to us enough that we'll call and say, hey, I got your clothes, or your clothes are ready at the dry cleaner. It's just been kind of funny. And my son is Tim Anderson also. So it's yeah, it's kind of funny.
You're at 45 minutes.
Okay, so I think we're going to end the live at that today. I appreciate everybody for joining me. I will be putting the audio from this live up on Spotify. So if you didn't get to watch it all or listen to it all, you can listen to it while you're driving on Spotify. And I want to thank everybody for subscribing to me on Patreon. I picked up several new Patreon followers over the last few days, and I want to thank you for following. And I appreciate everybody for watching the video. Until next time, thank you for watching.
Dusty commented right after